When we look at mass shooters, there are many recurring patterns that stand out across cases. One of the most common is the choice of location. In the vast majority of attacks, the targets are environments filled with unarmed people, places that offer little or no resistance to the shooter. The objective of these criminals appears to be causing the greatest amount of destruction in the shortest possible time. For that reason, the victims are usually unprepared and defenseless. However, there are exceptions. Aaron Alexis did not storm a mall, a park, or a school. He entered a military base. The attack left 12 people dead and 8 wounded. It became the deadliest mass shooting in the history of Washington, carried out by a single individual inside an American military installation. Aaron Alexis was born on May 9, 1979, in Queens, New York, United States. He was one of 3 children born to Edward and Catherine Alexis. Aaron appeared to have grown up in a stable household, if not for his own behavior. According to Naomi, one of his sisters, Aaron was extremely aggressive as a child and frequently beat her without controlling his strength. These attacks often happened without provocation or over minor issues, such as when she spoke loudly while Aaron was on the phone. During his youth, he would lock himself in his bedroom for hours, listening to music at the highest volume his stereo allowed. Around that same time, he began torturing small animals his sisters considered pets. Naomi tried to warn their parents, telling them they needed to seek professional help for her brother, but apparently that never happened. Whether they saw his behavior as normal or temporary, Aaron's parents failed to give him the attention he needed, despite his sister's pleas. This allowed Aaron to continue down a dangerous path. At the age of 20, he moved to Seattle, Washington, where he lived with his grandmother. By then, it was already clear that something was wrong and that he required professional intervention. Instead, his behavior only worsened. On May 6, 2004, Aaron left his house at around 8 a.m. He walked to a construction site next door and approached a parked vehicle, a 1986 Honda Accord. Aaron pulled out a .45 caliber Glock pistol and fired 3 shots at the rear tires of the vehicle. The sound startled the construction workers, who watched as Aaron stared at each of them while calmly putting the gun back into his jacket. Without saying a word, he turned around and went back inside his house. Police were called to the scene. Officer Mansour arrived, collected shell casings, took photographs, and attempted to make contact with Aaron, but no one answered the door. Sergeant Mike Nelson later took over the case and discovered that a Glock pistol was registered to Aaron Alexis, who lived in the area. On June 3, 2004, Aaron was arrested as he was leaving the residence. His grandmother, the homeowner, gave police permission to search his room, where the firearm used in the shooting was found. Aaron was taken for questioning. When questioned, Aaron claimed he fired the shots because one of the workers had mocked him earlier that morning. The workers denied this claim. The damage to the vehicle totaled approximately $200. The case did not move forward, and about a month later, all charges were dropped. After the incident, Aaron's father was contacted by police in an attempt to better understand his son. According to him, Aaron had been present during the September 11th attacks and had helped rescue and evacuate people. He claimed this experience triggered post-traumatic stress disorder in Aaron. PTSD can cause severe social, occupational, and interpersonal dysfunction. Combat exposure, sexual assault, and natural or man-made disasters are common causes. However, authorities could not confirm Aaron's presence at the World Trade Center, nor could they find his name on any list of workers or responders. More troubling still, Aaron was living in Seattle between March 2001 and August 2005, while the attacks occurred in New York, making this claim highly unlikely unless he had traveled to visit family at that time. In any case, free from prosecution, Aaron moved back to New York on May 5, 2007, where he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. In July, he completed basic training, and in December, he finished an aviation-related course. He was assigned to Fleet Logistics Support Squadron 46. In 2008, the Navy granted Aaron Alexis secret-level security clearance. This meant he had access to information that could cause serious damage to national security if misused. At this point, it is important to step back and understand how someone like Aaron was able to reach this position. In his enlistment interview, he was asked whether he had ever been arrested. Aaron answered no. The recruiter failed to verify this information and accepted his response as truthful. Had a background check been properly conducted, the prior police report involving the firearm discharge would have surfaced, and his enlistment likely would have been denied. Between 2008 and 2010, Aaron's name appeared numerous times, linked to warnings for inappropriate behavior and failures to report to duty. According to his colleagues, he was a terrible serviceman, insubordinate, and displaying bizarre behavior. This suggests that not only should he never have been allowed to join the Navy, but he should also have been expelled long ago. Instead, for some reason, he was granted access to sensitive information. In 2008, Aaron was arrested in Georgia for disorderly conduct. He was at a nightclub at around 1:10 a.m. when he began breaking several objects. He was removed from the venue and the police were called. Aaron spent 2 nights at the police station and was then released. Events like this accumulated during the period he served in the Navy and today raise many questions about why he was not discharged at that time. Later, while living alone, one day Aaron made a series of calls to the police complaining about the neighbor who lived in the apartment above him. He claimed she was making too much noise, and when the police did not resolve the issue, he fired a shot toward the ceiling, the projectile striking that woman's apartment. She was not injured, but according to her statement, all the neighbors were afraid of this man. Aaron claimed the shot was accidental while he was cleaning his weapon. He was taken to the police station, but as in other instances, he was not arrested. According to family members, Aaron frequently complained about being the target of jokes and humiliation by other people, even by individuals with whom he had little or no contact. He seemed to perceive conflicts that did not exist, taking a step toward paranoia. Perhaps the aggressions he committed against his sisters during childhood were already part of this pattern. On January 31, 2011, Aaron requested his discharge from the Navy. At that time, he was a Buddhist and began attending a temple in Texas. One of the people who helped with activities at the temple was Ishu Tanako. He was married to a woman named Kristen and welcomed Aaron into their home. This couple split their time between the temple and a local restaurant. They helped Aaron learn the language and opened a job position so he could support himself. He was unable to hide his strange behavior for long, and some actions began to frighten the couple. Aaron carried a pistol on his waist even while serving customers, which obviously caused discomfort for everyone around him. He frequently flirted with female customers and even had another one of his accidental discharges in his bedroom, hitting the wall. This time, the police were not called. Aaron urgently needed professional help and should never have been in possession of firearms. His behavior began to bother Kristen, bringing some disputes into the restaurant. Aaron seemed genuinely interested in the couple's culture, and in April 2012, he traveled to Bangkok, Thailand. He was accompanied by other people from the temple, and as soon as he arrived, he began flirting with one of the women. His advances were not reciprocated, and Aaron returned to the United States. In September 2012, he began working for a company focused on IT consulting. The company was called Experts, and they operated through contracts performing maintenance and system updates for large companies and military bases, both in Japan and the United States. Aaron worked in Japan, where he met a woman he became interested in. In January 2013, he left the company saying he wanted to study, also abandoning his relationship. He returned to the United States and once again settled in the Thai couple's home. In June, he managed to get his position back at Experts and was sent to different military bases on American soil. Aaron traveled frequently due to his work. On one of these occasions, he was waiting for his flight when he noticed at a distance a family talking. Rosalind Both, a 75-year-old woman in a wheelchair, was laughing with her relatives, but to Aaron, she was mocking him. He approached and confronted the group, asking why they were laughing at him. They did not know each other, and up to that moment had no idea who Aaron was. The questioning turned into an argument when the woman's son stepped forward, and Aaron made a gesture indicating that he would grab a weapon. Security was notified and managed to end the interaction. To Aaron, everyone was always ridiculing or persecuting him. For this reason, some specialists believe he suffered from paranoid personality disorder. This condition is characterized by a pervasive pattern of unjustified distrust and suspicion of others, involving interpreting their motives as malicious. Comorbidities are common, and this is rarely the only diagnosis. Schizophrenia, anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder, among others, may also appear in the same individual. Aaron was never officially diagnosed with this condition, but the signs were becoming increasingly clear. That flight took Aaron to Newport, where he was supposed to stay at a hotel paid for by the company, and this is where things become truly bizarre. After leaving his bags in the room, Aaron called his boss and asked if he could be transferred to another hotel, claiming that the current one was too noisy. The noise he referred to, however, was voices. Aaron said he was being followed by 3 black individuals, 2 men and 1 woman. According to him, these people were speaking to him through the hotel's walls and floors in an attempt to frighten him. In addition, he claimed that these same people were using a microwave-like machine that sent vibrations into his body, preventing him from sleeping. This information appears in a report written by Agent Mobley on August 7, 2013. Aaron changed hotels 3 times and claimed that these people followed him to each location, even though he was unable to explain the reason for this harassment, and it most likely never existed. Exhausted by the voices, he called the police. They realized that something was wrong and shared the report with the Navy. Since Aaron was providing services to military bases, it was considered important that his behavior be monitored on site. The company Experts was informed and chose to temporarily remove Aaron from his duties. They also contacted his mother, who said that her son had always been paranoid and that he needed help. Identifying that someone needs help is extremely important, but taking action and actually getting help for that person is what truly prevents tragedies like the one that was about to happen. On August 23, 2013, Aaron went to the hospital complaining that he had not been able to sleep more than 3 hours per night over the previous 3 weeks. He denied drug use and said he was experiencing depression, anxiety, chest pain, and difficulty breathing. He denied having thoughts of harming himself or others. He was given medication for depression and was discharged. On August 26th, he arrived in Washington. Even with this accumulation of warning signs, the company allowed Aaron to return to work. 2 days later, he went back to the doctor with the same complaints. He claimed that every day he woke up exactly at 4 a.m., but it is unclear whether the voices and the microwaves were mentioned on that occasion. He once again denied having suicidal or homicidal thoughts, was medicated, and released. Aaron was a ticking bomb in search of help. That was when he met Derek Robinson, a Navy veteran who had created an organization whose goal was to provide support for victims of stalking, people suffering from abuse, verbal or psychological aggression in the workplace, and alleged attacks involving electronic devices, among other things. Aaron found in that organization a complete description of his life. Everything he felt was expressed on that page, immersed in conspiracy theories. And this is usually what happens when people like Aaron do not receive proper attention. They are embraced by groups like this, and not all of them have good intentions. This organization was shut down by the government, but later reopened under another name. Aaron began exchanging emails with the organization's president at the time, where he described the voices and the microwave attacks. The acronym ELF refers to extremely low frequencies from 3 to 30 Hz. The Navy does indeed use this type of frequency for communication purposes, especially with submarines. However, Aaron believed that these waves were being used to affect him in some way. This is information that will become important later. In response to this first email, Aaron received what appeared to be a standard reply asking him to get in touch for more information. This initial message reinforced the idea that the government uses technology to persecute people, further fueling Aaron's theories, and the use of the word matrix was no coincidence. Aaron replied that he knew where these low-frequency weapons were manufactured and claimed they were produced at Navy facilities. He said he wanted to help in any way he could, and his goal was to stop the voices that had been implanted in his head. This time, with a more personalized response after the initial screening, Derek showed interest and, via text, tried to bring Aaron closer, framing these technologies as tools used against them. He then said that Aaron would be a good addition to the team and claimed he could connect him to a support group in Washington. Aaron responded that the government was recording his calls and said he preferred to speak in person. He stated that he did not have direct access to the wave equipment but knew where it came from. Derek offered the possibility of continuing the conversation via messages through Gmail, but Aaron never replied. On September 14, 2013, he entered a gun store in Virginia. He test-fired an AR-15 and said he intended to buy it. However, a store employee warned him that he could not take the rifle immediately. Since Aaron was not a resident of that state, the firearm would have to be shipped to his address and only released if he passed the standard background check conducted by the FBI. Aaron then gave up on purchasing the rifle and instead bought a Remington 870 shotgun along with a large quantity of ammunition for it. An FBI background check was not required for this purchase, and he was able to take the weapon with him immediately, and so he did. Later that day, he went to another store and bought a saw along with other items. This was the preparation for a terrible attack, shaped by a lifetime of negligence and arrests that were never carried out. Aaron wrote a series of documents in which he explained the persecution he believed he was suffering and the waves being sent to keep him awake. At the end of the text, he stated that he was prepared to die and that he no longer cared. He then sawed down his shotgun and wrote several phrases on it, including, "This is better this way," and "my ELF weapon," ELF being a reference to extremely low frequency waves, as mentioned earlier. "End of torment" was another phrase written on his gun, suggesting that he clearly understood how that story would end. Aaron was already certain of what he was going to do: silence those voices, one way or another. Wearing a striped polo shirt, pants, and black shoes, Aaron left the hotel where he was staying and got into his rented blue Toyota Prius. He arrived at the Washington Navy Yard military base at 7:53 a.m. His access card still carried the Navy's secret clearance level, which granted him access to all areas of the base. The Washington Navy Yard is an administrative and ceremonial center for the United States Navy. It was built in 1799 and remains operational to this day. To Aaron, that place was responsible for manufacturing the equipment that tormented him, and guided by his paranoia, he entered the building at 8:08 a.m. Aaron accessed Building 197 carrying a backpack. He entered the elevator and 1 minute later went into the men's restroom. Inside the backpack, he carried a large amount of ammunition and his disassembled shotgun. Aaron assembled his weapon, loaded the ammunition, and left the restroom at 8:15 a.m. That marked the beginning of the deadliest massacre in Washington's history. Aaron walked down the hallway and encountered a group of 4 people: Michael Arnold, 59, Martin Bodrog, 54, Arthur Daniels, 51, and a woman whose name was not released. Without saying a word, Aaron opened fire on the group. Michael, Martin, and Arthur were fatally shot and died at the scene. The woman was shot in the head and hand. Despite being in critical condition, she was rescued and survived. The sound that marked the beginning of the tragedy alerted other employees, and at 8:17 a.m., the police received the first of 62 calls. Panic threw people out of their chairs as Aaron searched for more victims. During the chaos, one employee pulled the fire alarm. Although well-intentioned, this action worked against the police response, as the siren made it difficult to track the shooter. Silva Frazier, 53, Kathleen Gardy, 62, John Roger Johnson, 73, Mary Frances Knight, 51, and Frankie Kohler, 50, were unable to escape the attacker. All were shot and died at the scene. Aaron answered hallucinations with gunpowder, while people bled for machines that did not exist. At 8:20 a.m., the shooter used the stairs to reach the 3rd floor, where he fired at more people. Vish Pendit, 61, and Kenneth Bernard Proctor, 46, were shot and killed, while others were wounded but managed to run and survive. Police were already on their way as everyone tried to understand what was happening. Gaining that level of access was not easy, and the shooter did not appear to be targeting anyone specific. Aaron continued firing at people running in desperation, carrying out his own form of revenge. At one point, he found a woman hiding behind a cabinet. Aaron aimed his shotgun at her head and pulled the trigger, but the ammunition had run out. After reloading his weapon, he walked away and left the woman alive. Back at the stairwell, the attacker noticed many people running desperately toward the upper floor. Aaron fired a single shot, hitting one of them in the shoulder. That group managed to escape and was rescued by a helipacker on the upper exterior of the building. Aaron reached the 1st floor and came face to face with a security guard. He fired, knocking the man to the ground. The attacker then stole the guard's pistol and continued the attack. He exchanged gunfire with another armed individual on that floor, but no one was hit during that exchange. The shooter then ran back toward the stairwell, encountered more people, and turned his weapon on them. However, the shotgun malfunctioned and became unusable. Aaron then dropped the shotgun and began using the stolen pistol. For the next 47 minutes, he moved through the facility searching for victims while police teams struggled amid flashing lights, sirens, and screams. Gerald Reed, 58, and Richard Michael Riddell, 52, were shot and killed. The chaos seemed endless until one of the police teams managed to locate the shooter. By that point, surrender was no longer an option. Back on the 3rd floor, they were in the heart of the administrative area, among a series of small workstations, also known as cubicles. Aaron climbed onto one of the desks and fired at the police, who returned fire. One officer was struck in the chest, but due to his vest, the damage was mitigated and he survived. 3 other officers fired in the direction of the attacker, and at approximately 9:25 a.m., the shooter was shot in the head. Aaron was neutralized, and the massacre came to an end. He was transported to the hospital already without signs of life and was officially pronounced dead at 11:50 a.m. In total, the attack lasted 69 minutes. 12 people were murdered and 8 were injured, 3 by gunfire and the others due to accidents during their attempts to flee. Aaron's manifesto was never published in full, but the portions released by the police suggest that he was motivated by paranoia. Officially, the investigation declared the motive as unknown. There were many signs that Aaron needed professional care. The belief that he was being pursued and controlled by a frequency-based machine was what possibly led to the deaths of 12 innocent people, in addition to traumatizing dozens of others. Aaron had always been aggressive and problematic since childhood. Through both paranoia and negligence, he was pushed toward terrorism and chose to continue down that path. Many theories emerged around the case, and MK Ultra was not left out. The results of his autopsy were never released, which raised even more questions. However, one detail was particularly strange. Next to Aaron's body, police found an access card in addition to his own. The card belonged to Raleigh Chain, 50 years old. What made this unusual was that this man was already retired. He had returned his card in October 2012 when he stopped working. The FBI did visit him at the time, but was unable to connect him to the massacre. Police could not explain how Aaron had gained access to that card, but concluded that the shooter acted alone. This was the massacre with the highest number of victims in Washington's history, carried out by a single individual on a military base. 12 families were destroyed, in a tragedy that had been announced in many moments and in many different ways. Aaron's mother later wrote a letter apologizing to the victims' families. She said she did not know why her son did what he did, and that she would never be able to ask him. Kathleen added that her son was now in a place where he could no longer hurt anyone, and for that she was grateful. Aaron Alexis died at 34 years of age from a gunshot wound to the head. His body was buried in an undisclosed location.